Hello and welcome to this week's Monday Music Motivation. This one, I wanted to talk about something that has been kind of pertinent for my students lately, and it's a little bit related to trusting the process, which a few weeks ago we did one on trusting the process. By the way, if you don't know, there's a whole playlist of all the past Monday music motivations that have happened. So if you're ever looking for inspiration and it's not a Monday or you've seen the most recent one, you can always go back and see some in the past. And I'll put a link in the description of this video to that whole playlist as well. One of them a few weeks back was about kind of trusting the process, accepting where you are, things like that. This one's a little bit of a follow-up to that idea. And what I want to talk about and how I'm kind of describing it a little bit differently is we should be celebrating our mistakes. And this is so counterintuitive and really takes some practice to do, especially for all of you who are adult learners out there where you've had your career and maybe you're in your career and you've worked your way up the ladder and you have those skills and abilities and those things that you're really good at, because that's how the adult brain works, is it gets efficient and gets really good at a few things. So then when you start branching out to do something like music that's generally very new and very different from the things that you have developed those skills in, it's something that your brain isn't very efficient at. However, your brain is efficient at doing a good job and knowing what a good job looks like. So it can be kind of frustrating when you start doing music and all of a sudden you can't do nearly as good of a job as those other things that your adult brain is really good at doing. So this leads to that kind of natural frustration of, well, I've watched the videos, I know how the embouchure should work, the air should work, the tongue should work, the fingers, I've studied the fingering chart, like I've put this work into it, but I'm not quite seeing the results and not getting where I want to be, and that leads to frustration. And it's the same as the root of frustration always, which is the mismatch between expectations and reality. So what we need to do is we need to lower our expectations, or even better, if you can remove the expectations altogether, accept the reality of where you are, and then work from there. And once you can figure out how to do that, the work will become so much more satisfying and much, much more effective for your long-term growth as well. So the key to this, and one of the ways to start doing this, is to celebrate the mistakes. So when you're playing through something and you play a wrong note or you play a wrong rhythm, instead of being like, oh, that's so dumb, I should be able to do that by now, instead say, oh, I'm glad that mistake came up. I'm glad that this problem has arisen now rather than happening in the performance. And you're glad that this kind of deficiency or lack of skill has become apparent, so you know what to work on. And we can let our mistakes be our sort of guidance and sort of help us determine what the next step is. So instead of seeing the mistake as like, oh, that's dumb, I should be able to do that, see the mistake as like, I definitely can't do that because it didn't happen. And if I could do it, then it would happen regularly and there wouldn't be a mistake there. So because that mistake showed up, that means there's an opportunity for improvement here. And I'm always talking about, instead of, oh, what went wrong with that? What was the opportunity for improvement? And it's, again, shifting that mindset of not, I should be able to do this and I'm not. That's frustration. That's expectations being higher than reality. And instead, takes the reality of that didn't come out well. Now I get to fix it. Now I get to improve it. That's a celebration. Oh, there's something that I can do, something I can improve. And when you bring that mindset to your practice, practice becomes much more fulfilling, much less frustrating, much more satisfying. And I think most importantly, it becomes so much more productive, because when you have that, I should be able to do that expectation, and in reality, you aren't doing it, then you're just going to play it over and over and over and be like, oh shoot, I missed that accidental, or I missed that rhythm, or that interval wasn't very smooth and connected. I should be able to do that. I'll just do it again. And then it's wrong again. No, I really should be able to do that. And you do it again, and it's wrong again. And that starts to look a whole lot like pointless practice, where you're doing repetitions just for repetition's sake and nothing's really getting all that much better. You maybe get a little bit better in that practice session, but it's the illusion of mastery, and the next day when you come to it, that same mistake pops up again. You are actually imprinting the wrong thing. You're encoding the mistake into your long-term memory because you're doing the mistake over and over, and the long-term memory and the myelination isn't smart enough to know what to encode versus what not to encode. It just encodes whatever information you're feeding it. And in fact, if you're making the same mistake over and over, the encoding actually encodes things that you're paying attention to more. So you're probably like, oh, that note, oh, that note, oh, that note. So your brain's like, oh, playing that note that way is really important, and will actually encode it more deeply. So just another reason to not get into that pointless practice trap where you're just doing the same thing over and over, because you should be able to do it right, and you don't know why it's going wrong, but you should be able to do it. So you're just going to keep doing it because you should. And that's how practicing works, which is not the case at all. Instead, when we celebrate the mistakes, we say, oh, I missed that note, or that interval wasn't clean. Cool. Like that's great that mistake popped up. Now, how can I fix it? That gives me the opportunity to figure out how to fix it. And it's the figuring out how to fix it that teaches you, and you become your own best teacher so that you can fix that mistake in the future and solve that problem now and continue to have that going correctly every single time it comes up consistently going forward, rather than just saying you should be able to do it. So hopefully that gives you some inspiration and some motivation in your practice this week. Don't forget to fill out your practice template, which is even more important than the motivation and inspiration. Here's what it looks like. You can go to quickstartclarinet.com/get started. That link's also in the description to download this exact template, or just make it for yourself. Date for the week, reflection of how things are going, goal for what you want to or need to accomplish this week, and your plan for when you're going to make it happen. And you're going to take that plan, you're going to put it in your calendar, you're going to set reminders, put it in your planner. However you organize your life, schedule those practice sessions so that you show up for them, you know what you're needing to accomplish, and you get it accomplished, so you can move forward towards your goal for this week, and then move forward towards your goal for next week, and then move forward towards your goal for the following week. And that kind of repetition is very valuable because it's thoughtful, it's intentional, and you're moving forward through the process and progressing. So celebrate some mistakes. If you want to feel really brave and leave a comment and say, this is a mistake that I made, and I'm so happy that I made it because I was able to discover this way of fixing it, that would be fantastic and really help you to kind of develop that natural brain reaction to the mistakes, which is easier said than done for sure, but it's a very, very valuable thing to get the hang of. So let me know if you have any questions about this also in the comments. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you next week on the next Monday Music Motivation. Have a great week. Happy practicing. Bye.